the UK is fighting a tidal wave of romance fraud.
In the last year alone, almost 10,000 cases have been reported to the police.
It's a hugely harmful crime which can be devastating emotionally and financially, with the economic cost to the UK last year close to £100 million.
It doesn't matter if you're old or young, a man or a woman. It could happen to anyone.
The man you've been speaking to is not real.
I loved him so much.
And we are back to expose the lies and manipulation behind these heartless scammers.
We'll be uncovering the tactics of the criminals behind the scams.
It's set up to trap someone.
And following the teams that won't rest until the scammers are brought to justice.
And as ever, we'll have everything you need to know to make sure you and your money stay safe.
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you?
Coming up, how this woman's family was ripped apart by a scammer.
I even at one point said to my daughter, "Don't make me choose, you won't like the answer."
Moving on, what life is like after escaping the clutches of a romance fraudster.
It's like you're in a pit, and by talking to someone, they're grabbing your hand and pulling you out of it.
And blackmailed for intimate pictures, how sextortion is on the rise.
The advice is block them, don't respond and don't pay. They'll just keep coming back for more.
Kim, we've been approached by a lady called Debbie. She's speaking to someone online called Daniel. Here's a bit of her story.
I joined a dating app and literally within days I was contacted by Daniel Martin Shaw. Told me that he was a civil engineer and that he was doing a job in the Ukraine. All he had to do was basically prove that he could raise money. He had to have, I think it was $70,000, and he was 16,000 short. So I said that I would lend him it once I'd sold my house. I was selling the house anyway. Everybody, friends, family, kept saying, no, he's a scammer, and I wouldn't have it. I'd gone to Leeds to pick him up, and he didn't turn up at the airport. I desperately wanted it all to be, you know, just a huge misunderstanding. But the longer it went on, the more I couldn't do that.
She's pretty convinced, isn't she, that he is a scammer, and I must say it does sound that way on the face of it.
It sounds like a scam. We know that there are red flags in this. She needs closure. I'm going to investigate what I can and hopefully give her the answers that she deserves.
Ashley has been sent documents, texts and photos of Daniel. So while he takes a look at those, I'm on my way to meet former nurse and mother of two, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Thanks for meeting me today and sharing your story.
When Debbie's husband Paul was dying of cancer in 2019, he had one final wish.
He made me promise to find somebody. He said, "You're no good on your own."
Taking on board her late husband's wishes, 10 months after he died, Debbie decided she would join a dating site specialising in the over 50s. And within a week, Debbie had met someone. Daniel Shaw told Debbie he was a 59-year-old civil engineer based in Leeds who was working in the construction industry.
Well, I spoke to him first in this country. He was travelling to the Ukraine the following day, and it was for a housing project.
What was it that first attracted you to Daniel?
I'm not that shallow, but, you know, if they look nice as well, then that's a bonus, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah.
And we hit it off straight away.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought, great, he's intelligent as well as good looking.
Yeah.
He explained that his wife had died 7 years before. He'd thrown himself into work, but he was going to change that he wasn't going to be working, you know, all hours God's end, and that this Ukraine job would be his last because it was quite a lucrative job.
He told Debbie he'd been bidding for a big government contract in Ukraine to build 250 apartments. The two spent the next few weeks on WhatsApp discussing his accommodation out there and finalising the paperwork for his contract.
Then what happened next?
All swimmingly good. Everything in the garden was rosy. And then, of course, the issue of money came up, and he had to, the way the Ukraine government work, or obviously this is all what I've been told. If, you know, how in this country, if they're building a stadium or something and they go over budget, whoever's getting them to build the stadium just foots up the bill. They don't do that in the Ukraine. If it goes over budget, Daniel's responsible.
Daniel told Debbie that he'd initially needed to raise £125,000 to pay for the job. However, with the help of his lawyer, Lexi, he'd managed to get the cost down to £70,000.
At what point then did he ask you to help him?
He didn't. He knew I was selling my house because I told him. And it must have been probably 4 months by this point. And I said, look, how much money are you short? And he said, 16,000. Well, as soon as I sell the house, I will lend you the 16,000.
You very clearly trusted him.
Oh yeah, I trusted him
Everything he was saying.
totally. Family, friends, everybody was telling me, he's scamming you, it's a scam, and I would not have it.
Debbie's daughter Jessica tried to raise the alarm when Daniel first introduced himself, and then again when he'd first asked her mum for money.
I think my mum was in a really bad place. Unfortunately, she'd lost her husband. She was still obviously broken over that. So I'm glad she got herself back out there, but I believe she may have done it maybe a bit too quick. And this guy has just landed right at the perfect time.
But reassured by Daniel, who'd sent over passports and other legal documents, Debbie turned a deaf ear to Jessica's concerns.
I even at one point, and I'm terribly ashamed of this, but I even at one point said to my daughter, don't make me choose, you won't like the answer. This is how hard and how fast I'd fallen for this guy.
Okay.
The thing that really hurt the most was how much she chose him over me. I couldn't deal with that. It just got worse and worse from then on. Therefore, I had to take a step back and let her make the mistake without me getting involved. I wanted nothing to do with him.
Debbie was sent these images of Daniel's passport when he was trying to prove to her who he was. We've seen fake passports in our investigations before. This is definitely one of the better ones. I'm speaking to Paul Maskell from UK Finance about why we should always be suspicious of being sent identity documents.
The thing is with identity documents like this is the biggest issue is that there's hundreds and hundreds of different ways in which the government and the countries that issue passports in order to make sure that they are a valid and identifying document. The problem is when it comes to the member of the public, and again from Debbie's point of view as well, is that it doesn't have to be a really good forgery or a really good document to pass muster for us that aren't trained to actually identify these sorts of documents to see. Yeah. Very often the information that they purposely volunteer is also part of the problem and part of the red flag. Because you say, you know what, I want to build this relationship with you, I want to build this connection with you. By the way, here's a copy of my passport to convince you that I am who I am. Well, actually, we can go online and forge most of these documents by using the software we have. But very often it's this emotional state that you're not thinking about looking for.
So if someone you meet on a dating site sends you a passport unsolicited, I'm assuming that's a red flag, right?
The issue is that everything that you see online, from your images to social media to content, all of that is really easily created. Now, when it comes to things like documents and stuff, is that there's going to be hope, there's going to be love, there's going to be lust, there's going to be all these different cocktail of emotions that come with our relationships in the best of times, regardless of isolation, loneliness, and somebody trying to convince you otherwise. So the fact that this person is volunteering to convince you of their identity or the authenticity of their information, even before you've even mentioned that that's a potential idea, is a massive red flag in that respect.
Well, yeah, you should be thinking, what are they trying to prove?
Exactly. It is, if they doth protest too much, it's very much the condition where it comes to fraudsters, because very often is it, I will want to volunteer documentation, I will want to volunteer information in order to put your mind at rest before you've even spoke to me.
Debbie had been speaking to Daniel Shaw for several months and was considering sending him £16,000 to help him complete a construction contract in Ukraine. All the while, Daniel was saying he wanted to move their relationship forward once he got back to the UK.
Would it be fair to say that at this point he'd been so charming and given you indication of the kind of person he was, that you could trust him and you felt like you were in this
He'd even proposed
position?
to me.
He proposed to you?
He proposed to me over the phone.
Okay.
He proposed to me. You know, at this point, I just wanted him home.
Yeah,
I just wanted him home, you know, and he couldn't until he rounded up enough money that he could come home.
Mm.
And as I saw it, you know, I wasn't just helping him, I was helping me as well.
Yeah.
Debbie was in the process of selling her home, and in August 2019, the sale went through, freeing up the £16,000 she needed to send to Daniel in order for him to complete his contract. But transferring the money wasn't straightforward for Debbie.
I tried to do it from Barclays. Barclays wouldn't let me do it.
Why wouldn't they let you do it? What did they say?
They said, no, we can't let you do that because it's a scam. I said, no, it's not a scam.
Against the advice of Barclays Bank and the police, Debbie went ahead and transferred the £16,000.
Had you spoken on the telephone?
Oh, yeah.
Had you video called?
No.
No.
The reason we hadn't video called, I mean, it was hard enough to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because the signal just, it's rubbish, quite frankly. His accent definitely sounded Eastern Blockish. But according to him, his dad was Canadian and his mum was Welsh. I mean, we text constantly. He sent me photographs of the paperwork. I have photographs of him, his son, his grandchild, some of his house. Everything appeared to be on the up and up.
By now, it was winter in Ukraine, and Daniel asked Debbie to help pay for cold weather clothing and his accommodation. In small increments across a number of weeks, she gave Daniel a further £4,000, bringing the total amount of money she had given to Daniel to a staggering £20,000. Daniel now said, with the profits from the job he'd just completed in his pocket, he was finally on his way to see Debbie.
All the paperwork had been signed. He had the job. It was his. You know, everything was signed. He could come home. So apparently he was coming home with all this money in cash. The money that the Ukraine government had given him, which is half of what the job is worth, which is about £250,000. Anyway, I was supposed to meet him at Leeds Bradford Airport. Sent me the flight itinerary, etc. Gets to Leeds Bradford Airport and no Daniel. I waited and couldn't get a hold of him. So at this point I'm starting to panic and I'm just thinking, everybody was right, I was wrong. I've just lost 20 grand.
With the reality starting to hit home, Debbie decided to do some digging into Daniel herself.
I don't know how I ended up there, but I ended up outside the house of the address that he'd given to me, and the address was nothing at all like what he'd described to me, because these were Victorian houses. And he told me that his house was 5 years old and that he'd built it. I'm upset by this point, and I rang Helen, my friend, and I rang to apologise because just the night before she'd still been, you know, bending my ear, and I said, "You were right, I was wrong." I was just thought, I can't do this anymore.
It's fair to say you were devastated.
I was devastated. The bottom had fell out of my world.
Was it more that you'd lost this person that you thought you might have this new life with?
It was the heartbreak that I couldn't deal with.
But it wasn't long before Daniel was back in touch.
He rang me and he said, "I've been locked up, I'm in Istanbul, they think I'm money laundering."
So what did you make of that explanation?
Given the fact that he was carrying the amount of money that he was carrying, I didn't see it beyond the realms of possibility.
Debbie received an email from what appeared to be the Turkish authorities asking her to verify Daniel's passport to speed up his release. But knowing he'd lied to her about his house, she decided not to just take it at face value. Instead, she contacted the Turkish embassy herself.
They said, that's not a real passport.
Do you fully believe that that's the case, or is there still a part of you that is wondering?
The only thing I want to do with him is punch him. I'd like to punch him straight in his perfect teeth.
So are you convinced 100% that you think he is definitely a scammer, this is it, or is there part of you that is unsure and would like to find out?
Of course, part of me hopes that I wasn't wrong, that everybody else was wrong. Of course, there's a part of me. I'd love you to be able to find him. But I want to stop his income. You know, once his picture's out there, that will dry up his income. And he won't be able to break somebody else's heart. But stopping him from hurting somebody else the way he's hurt me.
We will do our best. We'll find out as much as we can for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So I've just met Debbie. She does come across as being quite feisty and strong, but I wonder how much of that is a bit of a front. I think the one thing that really strikes me is how convinced she seems to be that the person in the photograph is the person that's behind the scam. As we all know, as how many times we've done this now, it tends to not be the person that's in the photograph, it's somebody else. I wonder how that's going to make her feel.
We have investigated lots of cases now, and we are enormously thankful to all the people who have allowed us to share their stories. One such person was Christian Murray, and we recently caught up with him to find out how his life's been since he escaped the clutches of a scammer.
Last series, we met divorcee and fibre optics engineer Christian from Cornwall. After his marriage ended in 2019, he thought he'd found his ideal woman when he met 32-year-old nursery nurse Stephanie on Instagram. 8 months later, and Christian had built up £14,000 of debt, helping Stephanie try to retrieve the inheritance she claimed her late father had left her in Africa. Concerned for his well-being, Christian's best friend Craig asked us for help.
So then he told me all the details, and I said, "Look, Christian, you're being had on here." I said, "You got to stop it." "Oh, no, it's real, mate, it's real."
We were able to investigate and confirm that Christian had been scammed.
We have identified that the photos lead to a Facebook profile of a lady called Gabriela Sontea. Scammers have been able to take their photos because of their open Facebook profile to create fake accounts.
So it's not Gabriella who's doing this?
No, it's shocking.
Today, we're back to visit Christian and find out how his life has been since we uncovered the scam.
Come here. Come here, good boy. Good boy, eh? No, I didn't want to believe it because I was besotted with her, you know what I mean? And that sounds stupid. I mean, in theory, I'd never met her face to face, but built such a good relationship with her online. It felt right, it felt good.
The first person Christian confided in about giving Stephanie so much money was, naturally enough, best friend Craig.
Everyone will tell you, nah, you're being scammed, you're being scammed. No, and you just do not want to believe it. It's like there's a thing in your head that will just turn off. So no, I'm not going to hear that.
But if losing a 5-figure sum to so-called Stephanie wasn't enough, after ending the relationship, Christian faced another significant problem.
When me and Stephanie were really getting to know each other, we decided just to send a couple of videos. And obviously, these types of videos are not the type of videos that you want the friends and family to see. And then I had a message with the video that I'd shared with Stephanie saying, we know your family members, we know your friends, we have this video. If you don't sort us out, we will share this on all of social media.
Christian was being sextorted. This was the first case of sextortion where an intimate video is used to blackmail that we've seen on For Love or Money. Cases of sextortion have soared during lockdown, and the National Crime Agency's advice is simple. Don't panic, don't pay. Seek support and contact the police, which were steps Christian took.
Felt angry, upset. I wanted to share my story because I don't want no one to go through the emotions and the heartache that I went through. It is horrible, it really is horrible, and no one should go through that.
It took a lot of bravery for Christian to share his story, but he says the backing he has received since has been overwhelming.
You know, I've had so much support and kindness and kind messages, and it's just been really nice. I was going down to my local pub, people were patting me on the back and saying, well done, mate, you know, you're really brave for doing that, and let's say we've helped some other people out here by doing it, you know.
And there's one thing Christian wants others to take away from this.
I hope that people watching can think, I need to talk to someone about this situation. Maybe you think you are being scammed. I think if I'd never spoken out about it, my life wouldn't be where it is now. And 14,000 could have turned into 40,000. And it could have gone on for a long, long time. Because you remember, you're sucked in. So by talking to someone, you're pulling yourself out. So it's like you're in a pit. And by talking to someone, they're grabbing your hand and pulling you out of it. So please talk to people. Don't be scared. Don't worry about what people are going to think. There's a lot more good people in this world than bad people.
Soon after opening up, sharing his story, and having that weight lifted off his shoulders, Christian became a little luckier in love as well.
My life has changed quite a lot. I had a baby boy, Morgan, he's called, and he's handsome. He's came a bit earlier than we expected. I also got my other boys as well. They're obviously lush to me. And you wouldn't believe it, but literally 2 days before, so 4 days ago, Craig became a daddy again as well. So I can see quite a fun future ahead for all of us.
We're looking into the case of Debbie, who was grieving for her late husband when she met Daniel Shaw and ended up losing £20,000. Debbie met Daniel on a dating app, so I'm meeting with Hannah Shimko from the Online Dating Association to find out what the big dating sites are currently doing to prevent online romance fraud.
Most people that we meet that have been scammed or think they've been scammed will admit to feeling vulnerable at the time that they have signed up and gone online to look for love. Should dating websites help in that respect?
So the first thing that someone can do to stop themselves being vulnerable is speak to friends and family, share the online dating experience, share what's happening, not close themselves off from the people around them who they can then get feedback on what's happening with. And the second is about staying on the online dating platform. So because the online dating platform has different processes in place to look for scammers, look for fake profiles, check messages, and also do education campaigns within the dating app or website, you're safest on that platform.
So what are the safer dating sites doing then to prevent scammers and fake profiles?
They can do things like check for IP addresses of known scammers. They can check for images and photos used by known scammers, email, phone number, the kind of things that people have to share to go on to a dating app or website that, as we said before, has good practices and transparent practices.
There are websites and dating apps being developed now where background checks and mandatory ID is becoming compulsory. Do you think this should be rolled out across the board?
There is a space between, privacy and verification and background checks and ID checks where you are allowed to use a pseudonym. I think it's something that might be needed if you are worried about your maybe sexuality or a community in which you're involved in. You do need a pseudonym. So it's about finding the space between traceability if something problematic happens, but protecting those who need to protect themselves. Say if you've left an abusive relationship and you need to protect your identity.
If someone's watching this programme and is thinking about going online dating, what pieces of advice would you give to them people?
So I think the first is do your due diligence on the site or app that you're interested in using. Look at their trust and safety work, look at their transparency. The second is to talk about your online dating with friends and family, get their feedback on what might be happening online. Third is to stay on the actual dating app or website. There's lots of processes on those apps and websites that help keep you safe. And finally, we always say at the ODA, don't send money to anyone you've met online.
Someone who did send money is Debbie, £20,000 of it in total. She's given me all the photos and documents from her relationship with Daniel Shaw, so it's time to do some digging.
Okay, so I've reverse image searched this photo. Let's see what it leads to.
A reverse image search is one of the strongest investigative tools we have. It allows me to search the internet to see if anything from a photo or document we have received has been used or seen elsewhere online.
So it's taken me to a Russian social media platform of a man called Roman. But these are photos of the man that Debbie's been speaking to. Oh my days. I'm prepared to bet on it that this is the real man behind the photos. You have just got a string of photos of this individual, an open social media account. I'm not even logged into the account and I can see the photos. So this would be a dream for a scammer. Gosh, he's got an album just of pictures with him and who I believe to be his son. And I know that Debbie believes Daniel has a son.
And there's something else about these photos that raises my suspicions.
You can even see that some of the photos are time-stamped, dating back as long as 10 years ago. I'm a bit disappointed for Debbie because it seems as if this is a real guy. I'm going to look into the name and see where it leads me.
And almost instantly, I'm led to this Facebook page.
What's really telling about this page is that it hasn't been accessed for about 5 years. I wonder what that means. But what it certainly leads me to conclude is that Debbie certainly isn't talking to a Daniel Shaw.
Romance fraud is a surging criminal enterprise, and new tactics are developing among the criminals that run these scams. Sextortion, where people are blackmailed over the release of intimate images, has seen a 40% growth in reports over the last year. But there is one team dedicated to fighting back. Earlier, we heard from Christian Murray, who on our last series was a victim of sextortion. In 2021, 15% of Britons aged between 18 and 45 said intimate pictures of them had been shared without their consent. That's a 7% rise since 2019. Sophie Mortimer is manager of a free help service set up specifically to deal with this problem, the UK Revenge Porn Helpline.
The helpline supports anyone in the UK who's affected by intimate image abuse. Usually that means the sharing of intimate images without consent, In law, that's with the intention to cause distress, but we'll support anyone who's affected by that issue.
In 2020, research found that 1 in 7 young women and 1 in 14 young adults across England and Wales had received threats to share intimate images or videos.
Threats to share those sorts of images are really, really powerful because it's hanging over them that these could be shown to their work colleagues, to their families, parents, friends, and in their local community, and that can have a devastating effect on people. If your content has already been shared online, please don't panic. There are things that you can do.
Kate deals with incoming calls at the helpline. She's one of the first points of contact for anyone looking for advice or dealing with intimate image abuse.
Do you just want to tell us a bit about what's happened and we can see what we can do to help? I really commend people who do get in touch with us. It's an extremely violating thing to happen, and I think they're so brave with reaching out for that help. It's sometimes very difficult to talk to your family and friends about it. It's quite embarrassing at times. So people get in touch with us and we provide that initial reassurance that things can be done. We offer the practical solutions to this crime, and then we signpost on to further emotional support.
The pandemic brought about an extreme set of circumstances which saw a surge in reports of intimate image abuse and sextortion.
I think one of the things that happened with lockdown was that people started moving all aspects of their lives online, and that included their dating. And unfortunately, yes, we did see a change in the dynamics, relationships starting on dating sites and then shift to video platforms or image sharing platforms. And I think it became much more normal to share that sort of intimate image with people that perhaps possibly you didn't know very well and might not have actually met face to face.
Despite coronavirus restrictions easing, cases have remained high. And Sophie's concern is that it's become the new norm. The link between romance fraud and this kind of intimate image abuse is also clear to see.
Romance scams is another thing that we've seen more of. We have a number of sorts of behaviour that can happen on dating sites that might revolve around sextortion or using images to extract money or more images. And there are different dynamics involved. Some, like sextortion, are quite fast. It's usually a male victim, and it will happen very, very quickly where it moves from sexual activity online to threats for money.
Evidence suggests that sextortion is predominantly committed by overseas gangs, targeting young males aged 17 to 25 years old. Sophie saw a 25% increase in reporting year on year in 2021. And in order to continue to provide crucial support to victims, the helpline has had to increase its resources.
When COVID hit, there were only 3 of us. We're now seeing double the workload that we were dealing with then. We were able to secure some additional funding from government, which meant that we could double our staffing.
In 2020, the team at the helpline was successful in removing 22,515 of the 23,913 images reported.
We do have a 90% takedown rate, so we are very good at what we do, and we're incredibly stubborn women here, and we really will try our best to have them removed for you.
We work with social media platforms, with message boards, with adult sites, which are the predominant places where this content is shared, and that's how we've got a really good success rate.
And providing this success rate to their clients is something Sophie and her team pride themselves on.
I love my job. I think it's really important work, what we do. There's no one else in the country that does it. There's barely anyone in the world that really does what we do. It's such a niche type of crime to happen, but it's so devastating for those it impacts. It's so violating.
And Sophie has some simple advice for anyone experiencing intimate image abuse.
The advice is block them, stop communicating. If you can block them from all of your social media, do that. Report those profiles straight away. Just don't engage, don't respond, and don't pay. They'll just keep coming back for more.
We've been looking into the case of Debbie, who made a promise to her late husband that she'd find someone else after he died. And after a period of mourning, she thought she'd found love online. Daniel Shaw was working on a contract in Ukraine, so was unable to meet up with Debbie. but that didn't stop her sending him £20,000. Sadly, our investigations have led us to conclude that Daniel is in fact a scammer who will go to any lengths to get what he wants.
This passport, the signature, doesn't match with the name, and the blurring around the face suggests that it's been photoshopped. Clearly, these are red flags.
It's time to reveal to Debbie the devastating truth.
How are you?
Not sure. It's that wanting closure, but not knowing what to expect.
From the moment they started exchanging messages, Daniel said to Debbie he had to go to Ukraine for a lucrative job opportunity. He provided Debbie with a set of phone numbers to contact him, but when we looked into those numbers, we found some alarming facts.
We found that that number was not registered in his name or any sort of similar name.
Right.
He also sent you a Ukrainian number. It's not registered under a Daniel Shaw. In fact, it's associated with 2 doctors.
We also looked into Daniel's Facebook profile, and again, the warning signs were there.
On his Facebook profile, interestingly, he says what area he grew up in and what high school he went to. We checked this area and there is not a high school of the name that he cites. In fact, the nearest high school of that name is 200 miles away from where he apparently lived. On that Facebook profile, Daniel also lists the university he claims to have gone to. We checked this out, and the area that he apparently lived in at the time, we found to be a 21-hour drive away from the location of the university.
Is that all?
Now, we contacted the admissions office at the University of North Texas, and they have told us there is no record of a student named Daniel Shaw attending our university.
You know, none of it, I'm not surprised by any of it now.
Daniel told Debbie he was working alongside the Ukrainian government on a building project. He said he was expected to show he had enough cash flow to cover shortfalls in the costs of the project, and this was money Debbie eventually helped him cover. However, our investigations have shown that the document he sent her as proof of this isn't worth the paper it was written on.
There are no full stops in the entire first paragraph. You can see a few lines down it says trustworthy, 2 separate words when in fact it should be 1 single word. The word contractor is singular when it should be plural. Yours faithfully has an apostrophe when it shouldn't. You just wouldn't get these sorts of errors on a legit document from a government department.
I mean, obviously I noticed that there was the occasional spelling mistake, but then you just think, well, they write it in English when it's not their first language, so
Yeah.
mistakes are going to be made. It's not a surprise. And I've accepted the fact that, yeah, I got scammed. I got scammed to the tune of 20 grand. And it broke my heart. But I have shed all the tears over him I'm going to shed.
Debbie remains defiant, but our biggest bombshell is still to come. The true identity of the man in the photos she believed to be Daniel Shaw. We found his photos on several other dating sites, all under different names.
Do you recognise the face?
Yeah.
And there are others. We found original versions of these photos with timestamps, meaning we could see the original dates of when the photos were taken. Some of these photos are in fact 14, 15 years old. We can reveal that the man in the photos has had his image stolen by scammers. And this is the real man's Facebook page. His name is Roman. What I'm about to say may come as a bit of a shock. We actually found out that sadly he passed away in 2015.
I mean, that to use somebody's images that's died is just despicable. They're the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
We managed to speak to Roman's wife, and she has a message for you. She says he was a father of children and a husband, that is all. He always lived in Sevastopol since birth. I think for the victims it should suffice that he died on the 1st of August 2015. My heart stopped.
I'm devastated for her. That must be absolutely awful to know that your dead husband is being used in such a way. It's... I couldn't even imagine.
Has this brought any kind of closure for you?
I don't know whether you ever get closure from something like this because you carry it with you. You know, I'm never going to trust 100% again. Never. You know, my husband wanted me to meet somebody, which is why I went on a site in the first place. And the fact that the money that was my husband's, some scammers now got.
Yeah.
And that hurts a bit.
Yeah.
The fact that somewhere in the world somebody is spending my late husband's money. And that bothers me.
With the scam now put to bed, there's one final thing to do. Block the people behind so-called Daniel Shaw so they can never contact Debbie again.
Right, that's all 3 numbers.
Yes.
Yes.
Well done.
Didn't have a problem doing that at all.
Thank you so much for coming in, for meeting with us, for allowing us to investigate your case.
You're very welcome. It was upsetting finding out that the person in the photograph is actually some widow's husband. I mean, that's just despicable. I just think that's the lowest of the low.
It must have been really hard for her today. Not only was the person she was talking to not real, they'd also been using photographs of a man who'd passed away, which I just think is despicable.
I totally agree, and this case is a reminder that scammers go to every length possible to dupe innocent, lovely people like Debbie. Hopefully, she's got the closure that she needs, and I'm sure that she'll be able to move on now.
Yeah.
It's given me some closure, and it's made me feel not quite so stupid.
If you think you've been scammed in a similar way or been asked to send money to someone you're talking to online, then we'd like to hear from you. Email loveormoney@bbc.co.uk. Join us again.
No, you've just blown me away. It's not very often I'm speechless.
For more shocking tales of romance fraud.
He said, I'm in trouble. How much money have you got in your bank?
Details of organisations offering information and support with fraud are available at the BBC Action Line website.
It's Radio 1 Breakfast with Greg James.
I like listening to